the most prestigious and one of the most sought after educational institutions of the country. The list of alumni includes the likes of Rajiv Gandhi, the three chief ministers, Kamal Nath, Captain Amrinder Singh, Navin Patnaik, billionaires, Malvinder and Shivinder Singh, Sunil Munjal, famous authors, Vikram Seth, Amitabh Ghosh, media personalities, Dr. Pranoy Roy, Karan Thapar, Arun Puri, famous historian Ram Guha. The list is unending. I am at the Doon School in Dehradun, here to meet the headmaster, Matthew Raggett, and find out from him, as many of you would want to know, everything about how to get into the Doon School, why the Doon School, and also if this is the grooming ground only for the elite and the privileged boys. It's my pleasure, and thank you so much for sparing some time for us.
It's lovely to have you here.
So, thank you, sir. Sir, I would like to start by maybe we can walk out and get a feel of the school and then start talking about why Doon. There are a lot of perceptions about the school here. So, what I would really like to hear from you, everything about the Doon School, the admission process, the criteria, if the perception that we often have, you know, that this is the school only meant for the elite of the society.
For the sons of the privileged.
Yes.
And of course it's not. It's always been a school for boys of all backgrounds.
Absolutely. Yeah. So would like to hear from you all about the Doon School.
Perfect.
So can we start walking out and have a feel of how the school looks like and everything?
What can I show you first? Can I show you the guy who started it all?
Yes, the founder. Let's start from the very beginning.
Why not? So S.R. Das was a member of was the guy who put together the idea of a new kind of school for India. So in 1928, he founded along with others, like-minded people, the Indian Public School Society, with the aim of creating a school that was going to prepare people to lead a soon-to-be free and independent India. Yes. So it's a very subversive belief at the time. Yeah, this is sort of 15 years away from independence.
That's right.
You know, his dream was put into practice by hiring a couple of interesting young housemasters and teachers from the UK.
Yes.
So Arthur Foote was our first headmaster, who came from Eton. John Martin worked with him, he came from Harrow. And they put together the first team of masters.
Yes.
Who welcomed boys in 1935. And that's where it started. These are the guys who've
the rest of them who followed
ever since.
Yes, and carried on with the legacy.
That's right.
84 years now.
Yeah. Let's start with the mission of the school, because I think it's a very important place to begin.
Yes.
Lots of schools, you know, rebrand themselves with some regularity. They look at their mission statements and come up with new ones.
Yes.
Since the very start of the school has been about attracting and developing exceptional boys and teachers from all backgrounds to serve a meritocratic India.
Right.
Back in the day, it was to serve a free and democratic India. That happened, and now it's a meritocratic India. Look, you can see up here, that's the first batches of the school from 1935, with the teachers in the middle, Arthur Foote there with his gown and mortarboard on. So these were the pioneers. But this is what the school's like now, a mixture of boys from all over the country. So all backgrounds really means that.
Yes.
We've got 26 states in India represented. We've got 35 NRIs, Indians overseas coming back. We've got masters from all over the country who've had experiences all over the world through their travel and teaching. So the school, through the generosity of its alumni and donors, has the financial resources to give needs-based scholarships to any boys who need it.
Yes, so here, you know, there is this strong perception we have that this particular school is only for the elitist and the privileged people.
Yeah.
So is that just a perception?
I mean, perception can have its foundations in all sorts of things.
Yes.
We're not an elitist school by any means, but in some aspects we're elite. So we look for exceptional boys.
Yes.
Yeah? But we have a meritocratic admissions process. We give tests in English and mathematics, and in reasoning and ethics.
Okay.
And then the boys who perform at the top of that process are invited to group interviews.
Okay.
So they sit down together, and we're looking at how they work together. Do they collaborate? Are they reflective? Do they show and demonstrate empathy?
Yeah.
And are they going to add value when they come?
Yes.
Are they going to be great team members? Because we're also aware of our position in the country is to try and prepare people to take their place serving India. Something that's very special about Doon is that when you come for 6 years. So there's one admission point.
From 12 till 18 years.
That's right. So the 7th grade, we take 80 boys. We do take a few into the 8th grade each year because we recognise that boys grow and mature at slightly different rates. But that's it. 80 in the 7th, 12 in the 8th. We have 565 boys in school.
Yes.
And we have 78 teachers. That's a great ratio.
Right.
And we're not interested in growing our numbers. We're interested in growing our quality. And we keep improving that.
Yes.
We're not a business. We're a not-for-profit company. Yeah? Every bit of money that comes in through fees and through donations goes into the educational experience of the boys, whether that's paying the salaries of the teachers or making sure that we have the best classrooms for learning to happen. Yeah? All of the money goes into the boys.
Take us through the entire admission process, the criteria, because I'm sure there will be many parents out there who would really want their boys to be here in the Doon School. The mission out here is to get boys from every
all backgrounds.
Yes, whether it's the socio-economic thing, geographical regions. How much of that have been achieved so far?
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to the admissions process, we're looking for aptitude in mathematics and English. And any good curriculum, it doesn't matter what kind of school you've been in, any good curriculum should prepare a boy at the age of 11 or 12 for the kind of questions that we're going to be asking. It's not rocket science. And many resources are available, you know, and when people come with inquiries about admissions, we share a lot of resources with them so that they can look and prepare. We're not interested in people being coached or going to tuition centres for this. What we've found with that kind of boy is that they're not very interesting.
Yes.
They parrot answers. They demonstrate they don't think for themselves. Yeah. And what we want is imaginative, creative individuals. We get them to read for us out loud. We get them to do a particular task in front of each other and then improve each other's work. To see how do they collaborate.
What is the fee structure like? Are there some scholarship programs that the school offers for those who are from humble background but are meritorious and can, you know, be part of this
school? When we say exceptional boys from all backgrounds, we really do put our money where our mouth is. So the fees look relatively high.
Yes.
About just over 10 lakh rupees a year. Now that's half the price of an international school in India. It's a third of the price of an international school in Singapore and a quarter of the price of a public school in the UK. Yeah? But we believe that what we're providing is equal in quality to all of those opportunities.
Right.
Yeah? We also have a scholarship fund that allows us to look at the boys' aptitude first and only then ask, can you afford the fees? We don't want financial capacity of parents to prevent a great boy from coming to school.
Right.
And it never has done. So through the history of the school, there was a government scholarship program for a long time in India. And when that ended, I think it was in 1998, the school took over, collecting donations from its alumni who have been remarkably generous over the years because they believe in what this school can do and can turn around opportunities for people. And for boys from, as you said, humble backgrounds. We've had boys go through school in the last 5 years who have been first generation learners. Their parents are illiterate and they're now on full scholarships at universities in India. That's game changing. And that's what this school has always believed in. So of course, when you look at some of our famous alumni, it's easy to say a very privileged school.
Of course.
For posh boys, for the sons of the wealthy. That is true, but it's also true that we take boys from very humble backgrounds. We have boys whose fathers are gardeners, who go to school here now, and who make a difference. So you can hear the bell. Yeah, it's a changeover between lessons now. So if we look that way in a moment, you'll see hundreds of boys moving around.
Of course, lovely to hear the school bell.
Isn't it? It's still rung by hand. And we had some visitors from the US recently who said, why don't you automate the bell? It's like, why would you do that? It's the most beautiful thing. There are some traditions that are worth preserving.
Absolutely.
Of course, tradition is also the democracy of the dead, and there are traditions worth moving on from.
True. How does it feel for you to be, the headmaster of the Doon School?
No, it's the most interesting job I've ever had. So I've worked in 7 countries, 7 different kinds of schools. I was the head before I came here in Germany. Which does things very differently. To come here, what you suddenly realise is I'm not just the head working for the boys and working for the teachers and the parents, but I'm also the head of 4,500 alumni. Who are they're not just in India. I mean, 2,500 might be Delhi based, but the rest are all over the world. So, and I'm not just the head of boys. I'm the head for 85-year-old guys whose lives and memories are shaped by this place. And when I visit them, the greeting is remarkable. I'm their headmaster as well. So through time, the chair, the position, is still there for all of these people. I feel incredibly lucky to work for all of the, for that community. Being the head of a school is lovely because you're a community leader. You're an activist, you're a cheerleader, you're working for all of these people. And hopefully you're making a difference for them.
I'm sure you all must be tired of answering this. Why boys only?
Well, it's an interesting question, and if you look around the world, a lot of boys' schools in the 1990s became co-educational. They first started with the 11th and 12th, and then they worked backwards. There's still quite a few boys' schools in the UK. There's still a lot of boys' schools in Australia and New Zealand, South Africa, but around the rest of the world, very, very few. And we ask ourselves that question with some regularity. Every few years we look and think, are we doing the right thing? We do believe that we are. And I think one of the reasons that drove a lot of schools to change in the 90s was simple economics and business. They didn't have the number of people applying. We haven't suffered from a lack of people wanting to come to the school. So in that case, there's still that demand for boys' education. We also think that we do some elements of boys' education very well. And in some ways, there's evidence to support that boys and girls learn at different rates, different times. Sometimes they can inhibit each other's learning in situations. Normally it's the boys inhibiting the girls' learning. And it's certainly the case that when girls come to school, the academic performance and the behaviour of boys improves. But what we do is we try and tie up with our sister schools in the city. And not just for trivial things like socials, like a dance or a dinner. So, the local girls' schools, they have teaching kitchens that we have not put into school yet. So our boys go and learn with them, alongside them, and from them. Many of the girls' schools don't have facilities where the girls can learn to weld. or or use lathes to make wood and plastic products. We do have that, so they come here. So, if you look around, this is our main field, so it's our main cricket ground, and then other games take place here every afternoon. We've got a junior boarding house over there, so we have 2 boarding houses where boys come for their first year of being here.
Okay.
Yeah? And they're together, they're nurtured, and they learn the routines of the school. We've got staff housing here as well, around the ground. Almost all of our teachers live on the campus, which again means that when boys come to this school, they have adult role models available to them all of the time. And that's very powerful learning. So our boys learn in classrooms, but they learn in the kitchens of their teachers and in the lounges of their teachers. And many of our teachers have their parents living with them also.
All right.
So it really is that kind of community, a lot of depth.
Yes.
You can see we've got a sports pavilion there. Beyond, we've got more playing fields. And over the side here, we've got 2 of our main boarding houses.
Okay.
So Kashmir House and Hyderabad House.
All right.
Named after some of the people who donated the money. Yeah? So the Nizam of Hyderabad, for example, gave a great foundation at the start of the school, and there's a house named after him. So we have 5 main houses in the school, and the boys from the age of 13 up to 18 live in these houses together.
All right.
About 100 boys in each house, with two adults living in the building, and then another 11 adults working in it all of the time. Yeah. Doon was established to serve a soon-to-be free and independent India.
That's right.
It had this value about serving the country built into what it does, and to prepare young men to be part of leading and engaging with that process.
Yes.
So that's, there's something really special about that.
Yes, if I think about the names that studied here, who are really, in their respective field now, big names and leading most of those sectors.
They are, and they're whatever sector you look in, not just in India. If you look around the world,
globally,
there's a DOSCO,
a
Doon School boy, somewhere in that organisation, in a leadership position.
Right. Yes.
And that's very special. But again, that founding mission to serve a soon-to-be free and democratic India, if you think about the time, that was pretty subversive. I mean, that was a very deliberate, radical move. And I think one of the things that schools like ours have to do is not just sit back and think we are bastions of tradition and excellence, but we still have to keep being radical. And if you look at words that are used around the world in business now, disruptive,
that's right.
Collaborative, servant leadership, all of these things we've got to work hard to still be. We've got to be relevant.
Yes.
Yeah? And that's what we're looking at. We're asking ourselves, are we doing things that are preparing our boys to enter a world that is complex, that's volatile, that's continuously changing?
Yeah. So when you, like you just mentioned, the entire thing is evolving way too fast. Time's changing. Yeah. So how is Doon School? What are you doing to keep pace with this fast moving?
So one of the things that we've done in the last few years is we've moved from an Indian board of assessment towards international boards of assessment.
All right.
Now we still have an Indian board of assessment for the 12th class, but we also have the International Baccalaureate diploma in the 12th, and we do the Cambridge IGCSE assessment in the 10th. Now that's not our curriculum. Our curriculum is all of the teaching and learning that we've planned in the classrooms and outside and in the mountains and when we're doing service. But the assessment is not looking only for content knowledge, which is predominantly what the local boards are looking for. We're looking at critical thinking, evaluation, synthesis, analysis. These are skills, right? I mean, Professor Sugata Mitra, the guy who did the hole-in-the-wall experiment in the slums around Delhi, came and visited last year, and he asked the question, if you've got a smartphone, what's the value in learning anything that you can just look up? And in some regards, that's an important question. Whilst it matters that we know what's going on in the world, just simple general knowledge, learning of books and tables, asking questions in exams like, where did this conversation take place in Romeo and Juliet? The answer to some of those questions is, who cares? I'll look it up.
Yes.
Because it isn't a skill that I'm demonstrating by knowing that. It's just, what can I learn? And the evidence is that if you test that kind of learning 3 months later, most kids don't know it anymore. But if you test whether they know skills later that they've learned, they will still have those skills. So that's a big change in terms of the focus on what we're doing in the classrooms. And in order to do that, our teachers have to be up to date, well trained in pedagogy, well trained in formative assessment, which means assessing and giving feedback as you go along. And they've got to be good at causing thinking. You visit many schools, and indeed when I first came here, walking through the classrooms, you'd find the teachers were standing at the front talking for 90% of the time. Now, if they're talking for 90%, they've got no idea if the kids are even thinking for 90% of the time. The job of a teacher isn't talking, it's planning tasks through which children learn. And that's been a shift in what we've done in the school. Children need to be talking. Discussion causes more learning than a teacher standing at the front of a room.
Because that gets you thinking, you express your views, confidence building, a lot of stuff.
Listening to each other, challenging each other's ideas to build a better worldview. Sure. This is what we're trying to do. That's really important.
Now,
and I suppose the other thing is making sure that we expose our children to what's going on in the world. We have a broad exchange program, so many of our boys go overseas for 1 or 2 months, and we have students from overseas come to this school. And we do the same with our teachers. We send them to go and look at great schools in the world, to learn alongside their peers in those schools, and then to come back and keep improving things here. And a lot of our boys look at going to colleges overseas. That's a trend around the world. 75% of our boys apply to universities overseas. 25% of them stay in India. What's wonderful is that after studying overseas, many of them come back and make a difference here. They have a deep desire to do that.
So I believe very soon your team will be in the northeastern states, kind of an outreach program. So tell us a little bit more about the representation now. Have you got enough boys from the northeast, or of course now you have a direct flight from Guwahati to Dehradun.
That's right.
That's very convenient.
In fact, our school captain is from Guwahati. From the region,
he is.
At the moment. So what we did, when we've got boys from 26 states. So what you could do is you could tick those off and say we're covered.
Right.
But when you do the analysis, when you look at the population of those states and then the number of boys we have, there are 7 or 8 places that are below the ratio for per capita. Right? So what we've done is we've travelled to some of those places. So last year we were in the south, we were also in Ahmedabad and in Baroda. Now we're going up to Guwahati, we'll be going to Shillong later on in the year. We're going to Bhutan after visiting you as well. We also have students from Nepal. We're interested in students from not just India, but around India. Because of course, if you're going to prepare people to lead and serve India, working with our neighbours is going to be really important.
Yes.
So knowing our neighbours and having boys from those places is going to matter a great deal.
Right.
And India, India is so remarkably diverse. When Ram Guha came here, another one of our old boys, he described India as the world's most reckless social experiment. And in all sorts of ways, it is that, isn't it?
It is.
So making sure that all of our boys grow up knowing people from everywhere in the country really matters.
Yes.
So that's what we're doing in Guwahati.
Right. So you all will be there in Manipur as well. I think you're visiting Imphal.
That's right, yes.
Quite a few things, yes. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, you're welcome.